Hello and welcome to The Content Bite, a podcast for freelancers who use their words to make money. I'm Rachel Smith, a freelance journalist, copywriter, and content producer. I'm also the founder of Rachel's List, a jobs board and community for Aussie writers and other creatives.
Hello, and I'm Lynne. I'm a journalist and a content writer as well, and Rachel and I are your weekly co-hosts, and every week we're bringing you all kinds of tips, ideas, and some fabulous guests to help you make the most of your freelance business. Hi Rach, how are you? Another ep with just the two of us this week.
I know, and we have vowed to keep it short. I actually had a listener tell me today that she loved the fact that we had bite-sized episodes, and I was like, well, we've kind of deviated from that with episodes way over 30 minutes. So I think it's nice to get back to our roots occasionally and do these shorter ones.
I agree. It's nice to be efficient with our time, isn't it?
Yes.
Trying. And today we wanted to look at something that we see a lot coming up in the Rachel's List Gold group on Facebook, plus Freelance Jungle, which is another great online community for freelancers. It's procrastination. Sometimes you have lots of work, or even just sometimes it's just one project and it's so hard to get started or finished. Does this happen to you?
Yes, constantly, actually.
So I thought it would be good to share some tips on how we beat procrastination. I think you and I have quite different styles, so it's quite a good idea. Something that might work for you works for somebody, and some of my tips might work for somebody else. So let's take it in turns.
Okay, you start.
Okay, so my first tip is something taken from the amazing James Clear and his book Atomic Habits, which I don't know if you've read, Rach, but it's really good and it's very practical. I really like it.
It's on my list. I have listened to the Brené Brown 2-part podcast with him, and I just loved it and wrote down so many quotes. So it's definitely on my list.
Also, I think that almost that podcast is just as good as the book because he's got so much good information.
Yeah.
So his idea is to make it harder to be distracted. So you try and add in what he calls, I think, an extra friction point. So I am the queen of distraction. I get distracted so easily. And so my worst habit is either playing on my phone or scrolling mindlessly when I should be doing work, and even when I'm sitting at my desk. So all I do is I move my phone to the next room. That was one of his tips. And it means I just can't pick it up whenever I get bored, but I can still reach it if it rings. It doesn't sound like much, but adding that extra friction point, which is what he calls it, it makes all the difference.
That sounds like similar to an app I used to use called Forest, where if you left your phone in another room for long enough and didn't touch it, it would grow a tree and eventually a whole forest if you ignored it for long enough. It's a really cool little app. We'll put it in the show notes just in case anyone wants to try that as well.
That sounds fun. That's a more fun version of mine, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I love that.
So what's your first tip?
Okay, well, I think that we procrastinate for so many reasons, but for me, it's because things are in my rear vision mirror and they're diluting my focus until they're done. And I think that's particularly true of anyone who works from home. So I'm going to go against the grain here, admit that I just do the thing that is niggling at me before I settle down to work, and I build doing those things into my day. So I don't know if anyone listening is a fan of Gemma Correll. She's this incredible illustrator she's on Instagram, and she has done a cartoon called The Map of Procrastination. And
I love it.
It's so great. It's just this beautiful map that she's drawn with sections on it like the social media forest, the mountains of distraction, the city of closet reorganization. and the big one is the sudden urge to do laundry valley.
Oh, yes.
That's a section on the map, right? So anyway, that's my big thing. Laundry, I've got a little kid. I'm constantly washing. It takes over my mind and it's right near my office. So I just do it. And that ties into this tip that I learned from Gretchen Rubin, the happiness guru. And she said, if you can do something in 5 minutes that you'd otherwise put off, just do it. So if I'm waiting for the kettle to boil, I'll do my exercises, or I'll pack the dishwasher, or I'll unload the dishwasher, or I'll put a load of washing away. So I do whatever I know will niggle at me and cause me to procrastinate later, just to kind of clear the decks.
Oh, that's a good idea. I like that. Yeah, because often it's those little things that are just there, as you say, in your revision. It's quite cool. So my second tip is to use the new focus feature on my Mac, on my computer. because just up on the top right hand side is a little icon that when you click it, you can put your computer to work mode and do not disturb. And this helps prevent me from being distracted by new mail messages or other programs such as Slack, which you and I use a bit. It also syncs to my phone. So when I do that, it stops my phone from distracting me, like phone calls and things. So you can either set it for an hour or a set period of time, but usually I just choose an hour. It's so simple and so effective.
I love that. And I use that as well. Ever since you told me about it, I do find it really handy. And I only just realized that it does sync to your phone as well. So
yeah,
yes, it's really great.
Yeah.
Definitely. We'll do a list of all these things in the show notes just so you can try whatever tips appeal to you. Okay, so my second tip is, not surprisingly, to create a list.
You love a list.
I do love a list. At the moment, I've got my physical printed list, which is always on the front of my diary, and that lists everything I need to have done during the week. And then I have an online list via another incredible app called To Do. And I've tried Google Calendar, I've tried Asana, I've tried Trello, and at this point, I've abandoned them all for utter at-a-glance simplicity, which is really, I think, what To Do is all about. It just gives you this very clean interface. It's like a week on your screen. You list everything happening that you need to do day by day in columns. So every day has its own column, and it's so clear and clean, and you just tick it off when it's done. It also syncs to your phone. And I find it's the one thing that keeps me honest, and it's a really good procrastination tool, anti-procrastination tool, because when you don't tick something off, the app moves that task to the next day.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So your to-do list just gets longer and longer. So it really motivates you to get shit done and to mark stuff off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something quite satisfying about marking stuff off, isn't
Very
it?
much. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this before, but I'll say it again. My tip is never to leave a blank page for the next day. If I complete an article, I move straight to the next one and start work while I'm still in the writing zone, while it's all flowing. I might set up a template, call up my interview transcript, start adding in links, headlines, metadata, all that sort of stuff. Nothing perfect, but a good start. Sometimes I even finish mid-sentence, like something. And so I find that there's nothing trickier or harder than facing a blank page first thing in the morning. And it can be really intimidating. So you just can sit there and look at nothing. It's terrible. So by taking that away and having something to begin with, it makes it much easier to get stuck into the next story.
Yeah, I do that myself, because I find that so many content jobs now require that metadata and give you a template. So I will find, like, way before the deadline, I'll fill all of that out, write the bones of something, so I know at least a third of the work is done. And even if I don't get to the actual writing for a few days before deadline, it's really motivating to have just started it. So I'm with you on that. I think that's a great anti-procrastination tip.
Yeah.
Okay, my last tip is another app. Sorry.
You love the apps.
I do love the apps. So this one is, obviously you can use any timer app, but I use one called Egg Timer. And it's just a really simple interface. It's like an egg timer picture. And then you just put in how much time you want to time yourself for, like the block, or you can choose from the blocks that they create. So there's 5 minutes, 10, you can choose Pomodoro if you want the 25-minute block.
Yep.
And I just find, if you are really a terrible procrastinator, forcing yourself to do something and slapping a timer on yourself can help you get into that flow. Even if you write gibberish for the first 10 minutes, sometimes I'll set a 45-minute timer and force myself to write my feature in that time, which sounds like nothing. And it is complete crap, of course. It needs a rewrite and some really brutal editing. But getting the bones down is key. And I really find that, time limits are a brilliant way to do that and really work for me.
Yeah, I'm the same. I often I write rubbish, but I just write.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to know how to approach an article. It might be that it's tricky or boring. And I think once we've been writing for a client for a long time, or even a magazine for a long time, you can feel it gets really repetitive, some of the stuff, and you may feel you've done it all before. So I just start writing any old thing. It doesn't have to be good. In fact, it never is. But getting something down helps me start the process. And then after that, I start the editing process, as you said, and I start polishing the words, putting in clever bits, and adding in quotes or references, and just basically making it better. And that sort of just writing is good. I mean, I think that's a Stephen King thing. In fact, his book on writing I read recently, everyone had raved about it. I mean, I've never read any Stephen King novels, to be honest, but his book on writing has got such good tips on how to actually be a writer. He talks a bit about his background, but the second half of it is absolute gold on great habits if you want to be a writer.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to put that on my list.
Yeah, it is really good. I just borrowed it from the library. It was fantastic. The other thing I sometimes do is just start Googling the topic, not to copy what's out there, but it just gets some inspiration. I start reading and I get into the zone and I open everything into tabs and I read them, and then I just immerse myself into the topic. And I use a timer like you. So then I do that and do all the reading and then just start writing. And then somehow it turns into something. It's a magic.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, that brings us to our 6 top anti-procrastination tips. The end of our 6 top anti-procrastination tips, which is a mouthful.
It is. It's a long word, procrastination.
It is. But we hope that that's been helpful to some of you listening. And we will do a list of all the apps and things that we've mentioned and the books and all of that. So you can just click on what interests you and try it for yourself.
Yeah, so that's it for this week. A nice short and hopefully useful tips.
Yes.
We'll have another guest back next week and we look forward to everybody joining us again.
We will. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks, Rach.
Bye.